I know it looks like a little bit, it might look a little bit dodgy on the surface, but these are all things that are within the rules.
Alright, hello and welcome to the Matchday Vlogs YouTube channel. As always, please remember to smash that like button, hit subscribe, because it really does make a difference to the channel. We're here to talk to the opposition ahead of Wednesday's game at St Mary. I'm pleased to be joined by Charlie from Blues Brother CFC. So how are we doing, Charlie? Keeping well?
Yeah, great to be here, mate. Pleasure as always. Yeah, I'm doing well actually. It makes a change from sort of the last couple of seasons where Chelsea haven't been doing so well. Yeah, things are going well under Enzo Maresca. We're level on points with Arsenal in second. And yeah, we're playing some nice football, and it feels like it's the most stable things have been at Chelsea, both on and off the pitch, since the takeover just over a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and just touching on actually, with the likes of Enzo Maresca coming in, is everything now fixed at Chelsea? Is there any areas that you can sort of see that there's problems on the horizon, or there's something that perhaps still need work in the squad or the likes?
There's always things that can be improved upon. We're still very early into the Enzo Maresca tenure. We're about 4 or 5 months into it now. So yeah, there's always going to be progression. A team can always get better. He always talks about how we can do so we can still do a lot of things better after games. I think he said that after the game against Villa on Sunday. That there's still lots of things that we can do better, which is obviously quite exciting for us, given how well things have been going so far. I wouldn't say Chelsea were fixed, because at Chelsea you're always only like one defeat away and it's suddenly a massive crisis. But so far so good. Going forward, we're looking good. Midfield balance seems to be working well. There's always the question mark around the goalkeeper, that he's going to let you down at some point, which he inevitably does. Hopefully it's not on Wednesday night. But having had a good game against Aston Villa, it probably wouldn't surprise me if he cost us a goal or two against you boys, or dare I say against Tottenham next weekend, which would be even worse. But generally speaking, things are going well. I wouldn't say Chelsea are fully fixed. The defence probably still is the weakest area of the team, but things are definitely going in the right direction. You can see week on week we are getting better as a team, which is all you can ask for really as a fan.
And given the season so far, I mean, what does success look like for Chelsea as it stands at the moment? What ultimately would be a successful season for Chelsea?
I think obviously compared to what we're used to, it's a little bit different, but getting back into the Champions League would represent success, because we've missed out in the past 2 seasons, and winning a trophy. So obviously the Conference League, I think, with the greatest of respects to the teams in there, we're far too good for that competition. We are comfortably the best team in there by miles. I'd probably only look at maybe Fiorentina and Real Betis as 2 sides that could give us a potentially half decent game. The rest of them are all sides that we should be comfortably beating. You've got to remember that these are sides that are finishing like, 4th or 5th in the Belgium division, like as low as 8th in the Bundesliga and things like that. So there's a big gap in quality. So I think for me, top 4 and win the Conference League would represent a successful season for us. And, who knows what we could do in the FA Cup. Let's see what happens there. But top 4 in a Conference League would be a very successful season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love for Saints to be back in Europe, but that feels like a long way off at the moment. But just, I know there's quite a few questions in regards to like FFP and the likes, and Chelsea's name was being sort of pushed around the media for quite a bit a few months ago, but it appears everything's kind of died down. I mean, has it? Is it still lingering? Do you still have any kind of issues? And how do you get away with it, for anyone asking out there?
In terms of the FFP, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some sort of accountant. I know the club finances inside out. Absolutely don't. But the club have always maintained that they are going to be compliant with PSR. We were compliant with PSR last season. The latest reports are also saying that the club fully believe they're going to be compliant for this coming year as well. And look, I know people like to make a lot of noise about, how can they sell hotels that they own to themselves and whatnot. It's all, I know it looks like it might look a little bit dodgy on the surface, but these are all things that are within the rules. They're all things that have been, that's been ratified by the Premier League now. It's been checked by all the relevant authorities. That is within the rules. So as much as, people might not like it in terms of they think it's like, getting away with it or whatever, it's in the rules. And whatever people think of this ownership, and they've come in for a lot of criticism since they took over the club, they are smart business people, and they have found a number of loopholes, let's say, in the rules. First, it was the amortizing contracts over like 7 or 8 years. That was then closed, and you can only amortize over 5 years now. Things like selling hotels and stuff. These are all things that have are within the rules, and because other teams maybe haven't noticed them, they're now not really liking it, and the rules have obviously subsequently been changed with the contracts on. But yeah, I think I just trust the people in charge at the end of the day. They know much better than any fans do, and if they say we're going to be compliant, we're going to be compliant. But also, one thing we're very good at is player sales. We always sell a lot. We always sell players, get very good prices for them as well, which does massively help.
Yeah. We don't tend to call them loopholes. They call them efficiencies, don't they? It's the best way to describe them. Kind of. But just looking at the kind of player sales thing, I mean, it's an area that I think is perhaps, FFP is sort of drawing. I don't want to go too much into the details of this, but do you feel as a fan of Chelsea that you're forced into selling a lot of your younger talent? I mean, I'm only thinking for the likes of Southampton, where I've sort of seen players go out the door a little bit earlier than I'd hoped. Jayden McGowan going off to Brentford, I thought was a big miss. He had big potential, but the club are kind of forced into making those decisions based around FFP. Is it something that you're concerned about?
I think as a wider issue within the Premier League, it is a concern. You're now seeing academy players basically being sold because they benefit from an FFP perspective. So that's where there's an issue there now, where even if you're a talented academy player, chances are you're going to be sold for the benefits of the balance sheet. That's definitely something that needs to be looked into. And there is always that fear, maybe not as much with Chelsea as, say, other clubs in terms of holding on to your better players and whatnot, but there is that acceptance that, academy players or homegrown players or whatever, they are going to be sacrificed in order to comply with these rules. So that's something that I think does need to be looked at. And look, there is that worry. I won't sit here and say there's not that worry at Chelsea, but I would say it's a worry of a lesser extent to, say, for example, to you guys potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And also, perhaps those homegrown players that you want to see end up in the first team have that opportunity removed because of it. But yeah, still talking on money, so I don't go too much in detail. There's naturally a lot of clubs that are sacking their managers around the kind of area that we are. Can you bring clarity on the Graham Potter situation? Is he still on your books? Is he still taking money for sitting at home? Because
I've got absolutely no idea.
Okay.
There were some reports saying that we were still paying him. I actually don't know, to be honest. But it wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I know there's quite a few Saints fans out there thinking like Graham Potter's available, and I was saying I reckon he's probably still taking a coin some.
Well, he was on a 5-year deal with us, and he left about So look, unless they've come to some sort of agreement in terms of a settlement or a payoff or whatever, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating the business world of football, as we say, for those extra efficiencies that need to be put in place. So on to Wednesday. We're going to see the likes of Romeo Lavia coming back to St Mary's. Is he someone that's kind of impressed you at Chelsea? Is it someone that you think there's more to come from?
Oh, absolutely. We've had to wait so long to actually see him play. I mean, last season when he joined us, he played 32 minutes of football, missed the whole season basically with injuries. Obviously, come back in pre-season, was one of our best performers on our pre-season campaign. And he started the season really strongly. Unfortunately, he picked up a hamstring injury pretty much after that first game of the season against Man City. Missed 4 or 5 Premier League games. But he came back into the side against Liverpool at the back end of October. And he started pretty much every game except the Leicester game for us. And he's been absolutely brilliant. He's still only 20 years of age, but you can see how good this guy is, particularly in that first phase of play when he receives the ball from the defenders. He's always often, he gets the ball on the turn. He's so good at getting away from players and then, setting up attacks and whatnot. I've been really, really impressed with him. We've just got to be so careful with managing his minutes because of the amount of injuries that he seems to pick up. But yeah, he's been great for us, and he's going to be really, really important going forwards.
Yeah, calm and collected. As I remember sort of seeing him playing midfield. It's as I said on your show, just a player that I appreciated while I was here, but always knew that perhaps there might be a big pay packet at the end of it. But how do you see Wednesday's game going? I mean, Southampton are going to be without the likes of some key players: Tyler Dibling, Flynn Downs, Tewald Bellis, been some massive headlines that effectively out due to suspension. We've got Aaron Ramsdale who's out through the injury. How do you see Chelsea setting up for this game? Do you see them perhaps starting at a weaker side just to sort of save a few minutes on certain players, or do you see them sort of going for it?
Oh, no, we'll definitely rotate. We're not talking Conference League levels of rotation where it's a completely different 11, but I suspect there'll be sort of 3 or 4 changes. Given that Lavia started against Villa on Sunday, I think it's highly unlikely that he starts again. There'll
Okay.
definitely be half an eye on the game against Tottenham. So I expect 3 or 4 changes from Renzo Maresca, but we're just going to play in the same way that we've played all season. We're gonna be passing out from the back. We're gonna have a fullback inverting. We're going to create sort of a box midfield, and we're going to attack like we always do in a 3-2-5 essentially. And we've got some dangerous players that can exploit any potential defensive weaknesses, and we've got players that are in really good form and are fine in the back of the net. So when you're high on confidence and things are going well, I expect to win this game. But having said that, there's no easy games in the Premier League. Away from home is always difficult. And yes, you might think Southampton's sort of 4 of their best players, if you include Ramsdale as well, are going to be missing. You might think that makes it easier. Maybe it makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm not too sure.
Mm.
I still fancy us to win, but I think it will be a lot closer than what a lot of people expect it to be.
Amazing. Well, just to close it out, I mean, do you have a score prediction for Wednesday?
Uh,
Anything you have in mind?
I would expect us to score at least 2 or 3 goals.
Okay.
I would think. I know you guys haven't been the best defensively, and particularly if you do a bit more of your passing out from the back, like you were doing against Liverpool, there might be 1 or 2 goals there. There might be 1 or 2 goals there for us. We're not immune to making mistakes at the back either, by the way. We have
Well, that's
conceded.
comforting to hear.
Yeah, we have conceded a few goals through sloppy playing out from the back and from Robert Sanchez making quite a few errors. Hopefully he doesn't make any errors on Wednesday night, but that's not a guarantee by any stretch. Yeah, I would expect us to maybe win this game 3-1, but
Okay.
it's one of those that could be tricky, and I just hope that we don't. I don't think we will, because Maresca's got the boys well drilled, and we're kind of taking one game at a time, fully focused. But I wonder whether the players potentially might have half an eye on the big game on Sunday, because that is our biggest game this week. But yeah, there'll be rotation. I just hope that we're kind of fully focused on it, and we're not sort of allowing ourselves to get too contained by Sunday.
Yeah. Is Spurs your biggest sort of London derby game? Is that the one, or is it still Fulham one? Which one sort of grinds you
I
the
think
most?
I would say the biggest rivalry, certainly in terms of location, is like, well, Fulham's the closest, but in terms of like biggest rivalry, I think it's probably Tottenham. I know Arsenal is kind of getting up there now, and I always view Arsenal as bigger rivals just purely because they're a team that challenges for more. Tottenham is more kind of a historical rivalry that we're not really competing with them for major honours or anything like that. Although latterly we are sort of competing with them for Champions League qualification. But yeah, I'd say Tottenham's probably the biggest one generally, but I would say it's more Arsenal for me.
Mm. Yeah, always fun to have a little bit of extra on a game and stuff like that. I know it's something that we perhaps haven't had in a while. We haven't played.
Do you miss those Portsmouth games?
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of nice to have someone to, we've got the likes of Bournemouth trying to force something on us, but it's always just nice to see them do quite well, if I'm completely honest. But there we go. something for another episode. But Charlie, thank you so much for joining. Really, really do appreciate it. Let the viewership know where they can find you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, mate. Pleasure. Yeah, as you can see on screen, my personal channel, Blue Brother CFC. Feel free to head over there and subscribe. Mike joined me for an episode giving his thoughts on Southampton, so feel free to go and check out that one. And you can also catch me over on Chelsea Fan TV as well.
Amazing. Brilliant stuff. Well, we certainly wish you the best after Wednesday night, of course, and I hope you do manage to get that Champions League qualification. Charlie, thank you. Thank you so much to everyone for watching as well. As always, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. All right. See ya.